Philly
Yeah,
zone.
he is.
That's for sure. So, all right, guys, we didn't get a chance to really dig into this thing off the top. We were doing our Christmas stuff, and then Rich was available to go. First off, what's up to everybody in the chat room, everybody streaming, everybody listening? We appreciate you. So, let's start with it, guys. We got word that Lane Johnson has a tear, abdominal tear, and they're hoping he'll be back for the playoffs. Also, Avonte Maddox has a pretty serious, is the terminology, toe injury, and that we don't know at all, where that's going to go. So let's start with that one with you, Barrett, with when you heard the word about Lane, who's, in my estimation, been the most dominant right tackle. Certainly, you can make a case most dominant tackle in football this year. What were your reactions?
It was a huge concern to me, not just because of what he does on that, as far as athletically, his physical presence, how he dominates, taking all that aside. But what it does to the offense, you have to change your play calling up. You can no longer go in with the same game plan because I don't know who's going to be that right tackle, whether it's Jack Driscoll, whether it's Jordan Mailata, whatever it is. You have to allocate resources when a guy like that leaves the field. Remember all the tackle traps they were running with pulling him on the front side. Remember how they can just, put him one-on-one against whoever it is and not worry about it. You don't have to worry about sending a chipper that way with a running back or putting a tight end that side to stay in or sliding protection to the right side because you have Lane Johnson there. When you got Lane there, you can basically run what you want to run. It's almost like when they used to talk about Revis Island or when you have Dion out there. You just put him on the island and don't worry about that half of the field. Same thing with Lane Johnson. You just put him over there. You don't have to worry about anything else. He's going to do his job. Call what you want to call. It doesn't matter. He can block a 3-step drop to a 7-step drop. He can hold on for as long as you need him to hold on. That's how good he is. Now Shane has to think about, okay, this is where the rush is coming. It's going to probably be in his face. When it's in his face, it's going to, make his mind speed up a little bit because it's going to be in his face. You got to slide the line that way, so you can't necessarily run a play where you have a angle around the dagger on this side. You got to change it or flip it over because now you got to make sure that you have the tight end on the other side or have a blocker to that side. It just really changes up a lot of schemes that the Eagles want to run on the offensive side of the ball. So, yes, his physical presence is missing, but more so that confidence level that they had in running plays and the play calling by Shane Steichen and also Jalen Hurts running it will be affected.
Hey, Gunner, you look at the numbers, 72, 44, and 1. That's a 620 win percentage with Lane. 12 and 20, 375 win percentage without him. That is significant, those numbers right there.
When you talk about numbers like that, you normally think it pertains to a quarterback. The fact that it pertains to a right tackle is phenomenal in itself, and it tells you how he stabilizes that side of the offensive line. If you go back to the Eagles' last play against Dallas, when Minshew threw it out up for grabs, Driscoll got pushed back into Minshew at that point. Now, if that was Lane, that wouldn't have been a problem. And I'm not saying Minshew would have completed the pass to AJ down that seam, but I think that disrupted his timing a little bit and his ability to deliver it where he wanted to deliver it. Now, Jack Driscoll has played well, but Jack Driscoll is not Lane Johnson. Andre Dillard has not played much at all. So if you put him on the left side and move Mailata to the right side, didn't Mailata, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Mailata have problems playing on the right side before?
Mailata wasn't bad, and he's willing. The problem is Dillard doesn't like to move.
Okay. Well, see, that and there lies the problem because you have to move him over.
Yeah,
because you have to. But it's not really because you just leave him over there now. You don't necessarily have to use him on that right side. You just put Jordan Mailata on the right side, and then on the left side, you'll have a guy that plays left tackle who's very good at left tackle.
So you would do that. You wouldn't just plug Driscoll in at the right tackle, Barrett.
I wouldn't just do that because he's struggled this year. Yes. I can see if he played like he played the year after the year before, but he struggled this year too much. Teams have found him out. They know how to pass rush him. You saw what happened when Lane went out against Dallas the 2 games ago, and how he was affected. And that's the only time when Parsons really got some pass rush. It's when they went on Dillard's side, and I was kind of shocked that they didn't put him over there on the other side during Saturday's game. They left him over Mailata, even though he was beating Mailata. But if you move him over to you move Olada over to the right side. He's played right tackle before. He'll get it a lot better, and I think he'll be a better force there at right tackle than in just implementing Dillard, because he's comfortable there and he can play at a high level. Like it or not, he's definitely played under expectations as being a first-round draft pick, but it still doesn't change the fact that he's a really good player still. He can still play this game at a high level, and I think he can play at a higher level than Jack Driscoll is being on the right side.
All right, do you think they'll do that? Do you think the Eagles will do that?
No.
So they'll plug in Driscoll because they don't want to move 2 spots. They want to just keep the continuity on the left side.
But I think they're wrong in thinking that, because, I mean, Jordan can play that right side. Jordan's good enough the right side. I think they're thinking, all right, we put Dillard in there. He should be able to play. I have high praise for Dillard. I think Dillard has worked his way into being a pretty good football player. I think he can start for half the teams in the NFL right now. I think he's pretty good. But like Derek, we have sources that don't like him. And it may be a personal thing, you know what I'm saying, that they don't like him, but they just don't like him as a player. But I think
it goes beyond personal. This goes beyond personal.
Meaning what? They're just frustrated the way it's gone his entire career?
Yes.
Okay.
It won't necessarily mean that how he plays, because in a lot of people's eyes, he hasn't played up to expectations, but it still doesn't change the fact he's still playing.
Is some of that, Barrett, the unwillingness to like Mailata's, hey, you need me to move, I'll move. Like Dillard, remember he said it's like playing with one hand tied behind my back, whatever he said. I don't know what the statement he made, but he openly complained about having to play on the right side. He said he didn't like it.
Absolutely.
You always hear me talk about how today's NFL players, former players tell me today's NFL players, you need 53 psychologists.
Yes.
To coach these guys up, to pat them on the back. Andre Dillard falls into that category. You need to treat him with individual kid gloves, because
we call him,
emotionally he's like this. See,
I need attaboys.
Yes,
you need attaboys. Hey, attaboy.
Whereas when you jump on like a Dickerson, Kelsey, Sayamalo, Lane, you can get in their faces and curse at them and do all this stuff.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I hear you. You do that with him, you don't know what emotional state he might be in at that time. You don't know if it'll lift him up or if he'll shut down completely.
Yeah.
And in a situation like this, at this stage of the season, you don't need that. That's the last thing you need, is if he starts to shut down, because this game is important, very important game.
Yeah, it is.
But more importantly, if you mess around and let's say what you want to say about the Saints. The Saints don't give up a lot of points. They don't score a lot of points, but they don't give up a lot of points, okay? And they have a bunch of Pro Bowlers on both sides of the football. They just haven't been able to put it together consistently because of the inconsistent play of the quarterback.
Yep.
Okay? But you just never know on a given Sunday when all of a sudden they put it together.
Derek, you're right. And the last thing you want to do is have this come down to that last game, because when it's one game, man, weird stuff happens. Here's the other thing. The Giants haven't locked it up yet. Giants need to win. So let's say they aren't able to win this week. And whatever, and it's all on the line for them the following week. You don't want that kind of situation.
No.
And you want your guys to be able to get plenty of rest. We saw what happened in this Cowboys game, man. They came out of that the worse for the wear. Just having the bodies that they lost in that game.
When you have a record like the Eagles have, and you have the ability to wrap this thing up ASAP, you want your frontline players to get a breather that last game. You don't want that last game to mean something, especially in a cold day. Yep. As we just saw in Chicago, what happened? A cold day, 2 divisional foes. One has to slug it out because they need it still to wrap up that number 1 seed. The other one needs it because with 1 win, they get in the playoffs. And on top of that, the other team remembers how you embarrassed them just a few weeks ago. You didn't just beat them. You embarrassed them. So now it's a pride thing as well.
Yep.
It's the division game. It's the last game of the season. Playoffs on the line, positioning on the line for both teams. Dude, it's going to be a whole lot of extracurricular stuff in that game.
Yeah.
As we saw in the Eagles-Dallas game. There's going to be a whole lot of stuff that shouldn't take place between the strikes, but is. And when that happens, then all of a sudden you get these little fluke injuries. Somebody's going to get some kind of little fluke injury. You can't afford – you already lost one of the best slot corners in the game. You're down the best right tackle in the game. We don't know the status of a quarterback who was supposed to be the odds-on front runner for the MVP. You can't afford to lose much of it. I don't care how deep this team is. As we've seen, it does not function the same. Once Avonte Maddox went out, look at what happened with Dallas running all over the field, catching passes.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how disruptive he was on that one play where they threw the hitch pass, and the player Maddox got hurt.
Yeah.
He blew the play up for like a 9-yard
He was
loss.
Unbelievable until he went down in that game. He was everywhere.
Yes.
He was everywhere.
The play he had Dak wrapped up and thought it was a sack, and somehow Dak got the pass off.
Yep.
Okay. When he left the game, completely different. Now, they did get 6 quarterback sacks, but it wasn't enough to affect big plays for the Cowboys the rest of the game. Okay. Now your right tackle goes down. It affected the continuity of how they blocked. Okay. And it affected the continuity of Minshew delivering certain passes. Yes, he threw for 355 yards, but also they were getting more pressure on that right side. They didn't get him, but they were getting more pressure on that right side once Lane went out. There's a big difference.
Yep.
You can't afford to lose any other key player heading into the playoffs, even if you do get that bye week.
Yep.
Because look at the injuries you're talking about now. A quarterback with a shoulder, who I still believe is more than just a sprain. A right tackle now who aggravated that core muscle in Chicago, and now he tore it against Dallas. So we don't know how long he's going to be out because everybody heals differently. And in your primetime slot corner, who could be out indefinitely, which means he could miss a key playoff game with that toe injury.
I hear you. I mean, I'm looking at it. I guess I'm trying to be optimistic with Johnson. It's about a month that he would have, if the Eagles get the number 1 seed and get a bye. It would be about a month. They would play the 21st, and he last played the 24th. Okay, so around a month. I don't know what that means ultimately. I'm a little more pessimistic when I hear the Maddox thing, when I hear like serious toe injury, because toes are no joke, and it's a very serious thing. And whoa, did that look bad? I mean, Driscoll was okay. He was okay, but Josiah Scott was not okay. He's been anything but okay.
I don't understand what's wrong with McPherson, Josh Jobe.
Yeah,
we've got to have somebody other than him, because even on the 3rd and 30, they were in a prevent defense, meaning they took one of their linebackers. They took T.J. Edwards out. They left in Kazir White. They put in Kayvon Wallace as the other linebacker. They had 3 deep safeties, and he was supposed to be the 3rd deep safety on the play. You already had Epps, Blankenship, and he's supposed to be the 3rd. You have to be the deepest guy on the field when you're playing this dime defense. What was he looking at to make him not get over the top, especially when you have a veteran receiver sitting there? You got T.Y. Hilton. All he does is run 9 routes. That's all he's been doing, is run 9 routes, just straight goes. And why would he even peek? Just get your ass back. And then, I also understand Slay. Slay's pissed off because everybody's saying Slay got beat on the play. Still, though, it doesn't matter. You still don't throw your guy on the bus like that.
No, you don't.
I thought it was really weak.
And then he put him in reverse and ran him back over backwards.
Yeah, and look, we all saw it. We know that it was on Josiah Scott. You don't need to continue to dig the grave for this kid and throw him into it. Like, come on, man. And like, all you had to do is listen to Minshew after the game. Minshew took the blame for everything. Like even the Miles fumble, he was like, "Yeah, on me." That wasn't on you, but he just ate it because that's what you're supposed to do. You don't need to respond to this stuff. Why? Because a couple people on Twitter thought it was your fault. Like, dude, come on, man.
Well,
you got to be better than that.
Let's give Shizzle flex. You know what I'm saying? He $4.99. I just wanted to see, because they said we got to read the stream when they put those up there. Shizzle Flex, appreciate that, man, and we'll answer that in a minute. What he wants to know if you drafted a cornerback high.
Okay.
Let me ask you this about that 3rd and 30 play, because as I sit here today, I'm still looking at it now. Slate supposedly is upset because people are blaming him for this. Okay.
Yeah.
If you look at the replay, 3rd and 30. Okay. T.Y. Hilton flies by him. Slay is looking in the backfield. What's he looking at? What's he looking at in the backfield? Because even if they complete a 15, 20-yard pass, they're going to punt the ball.
Yeah, it's not enough. I know.
What are you looking at? You're a veteran cornerback on a 3rd and 30. You're playing deep thirds. Yeah. What are you looking at? Why do you let this man just go?
He didn't have a good game to begin with, Derek. Like, that's the other thing. Like, dude, you didn't play all that well to begin with. Just be quiet. Like,
Neither did Bradbury for that.
No, he didn't. You're right. He got beat on the land seating.
Yes.
So, and Sirianni explained it today. He said basically, it was a cover 2, and Slay was responsible for the flat and the short stuff, and it was Josiah who didn't do his job. But no, I don't care. Like whatever. It was a screw up. But I'm with you, Derek, in the way that Slay played it. But I just didn't like that. To me, is not the way the Eagles go about their business, like calling out teammates. Just
no, you don't do that. No.
You don't say anything. But the bigger picture is Josiah Scott's going to get picked on until he shows you he can just belong out there otherwise. You don't think the Saints, and I know their passing game is not the Cowboys passing game. I know that, but they're going to go after him every chance they get.
There's no question. I mean, he's going to get him in the slot. He's been exposed. He's been exposed since the 4 games that Avonte Maddox was out. He was exposed then. We got better the last 3 weeks until Maddox went out in the slot, man. And you're right. CeeDee Lamb had an incredible game, man. Incredible. And they moved him around a lot,
Yeah, they did.
More made sure that they didn't leave him in just one place. Mm-hmm. They motioned him a lot, put him in a slot. That's what you do. That's a great game plan. And he definitely exposed us.
Yeah. No, there's no question.
I want to go back to something Barrett said that when Rich Gannon was on, it really perked my ear. Because we have been talking about the complete opposite all year long about how even keel this Eagles team is. And Barrett, you said to Gannon, now correct me if I'm wrong because I'm paraphrasing. You brought up the fact it seemed like this Eagles team was starting to feel itself.
Yes.
And that caught my, because if there's one thing that we talked about that this team was, that they were consistent. They don't overlook anybody. They were not beating their chest about anything. They went about their business. So Barrett, with that said, what made you say it, number one? What did you see that even made you think that?
Oh, what I saw was a young guy in Quez Watkins, not going out there and playing straight fundamental football. You come back for the ball. You never fade away from. When you fade away from the ball, that gives the DB a chance to get up under the route and knock it down or come over the top and make a play. And he just did not play tough enough to me. And that to me is like, all right, I'm a third wide receiver. I ain't competing with nobody. When you absolutely have a Zach Pascal there that's going to make those tough catches right there.
Yep.
Get his ass out of there. He does not belong in there if he continues to do things like this. We're too far into this season. We're too far into this playoff run for us to be making simple mistakes like that. You cannot fade away from a ball, especially with a guy like Gardner Minshew who throws a soft touch ball.
Yeah.
He doesn't gun it in there. He doesn't have the arm to gun it in there. So you got to help the quarterback out a little bit. He got deboed by both interceptions on the play because he's fading back.
Now, we'll say on the one interception over the middle, Jaron Kearse was all over his back like a cheap. That should have been pass interference, but Dallas got that home call. Every team gets a home call in the game. Dallas got that home call. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be called as pass interference. It wasn't in this case. But still, if nothing else, you got to knock that ball down. You can't let this man climb up your back and take it right out of your arm.
Be a defender. I'm with you, Derek. First of all, and let me take it a step further. Why are you throwing those kind of passes to him?
Right.
He's shown you before that, frankly, he's soft. Why are you throwing those? It's got to be like, fly routes or stuff on the outside by the sideline or whatever. I'm not giving him any of that kind of stuff. I mean, he's not going to fight for it, and he's not going to outmuscle the other guy, and you know that. Like, I put some of that on Steichen. Don't call that play or whatever. And maybe it wasn't the primary. I don't know, but I don't like Quez. We've seen these too many times, and for me, he's got a hand in three interceptions in the last 2 weeks. He's got a hand in, and he's got to be better. I know they like him. I don't need to see the bubble screens anymore or any of that kind of stuff to him anymore. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Is it worth the speed and the breakaway speed? If he's in there for just 9 routes, just go routes, then let him do those. Yeah. Don't have him doing anything that he has to go out there and try to muscle a guy or make a 50-50 ball, because we see he's not going to do it. Same thing happened, against the Bears. Now, it was a bad pass, yes, but it was also a bad effort on trying to, get to the ball. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The lack of effort. So you sometimes you got to go, all right, then I got to use a lesser speed guy in Pascal, but a tougher guy in Pascal. Yeah. I do think they won't say it, Barrett, but I think we're going to see more Pascal. I do. I think you're going to see less of that kind of stuff with Quez. I don't, and by the way, some of that's on Gardner Minshew. He shouldn't have thrown them, but still, your receivers got to help you at some point too.
But yeah, that was frustrating. All right, let's go ahead, Gunner. Get your
Barrett, I'm curious to get your comment on this. I'm looking at a comment back in the chat. Cilio just said, now we've all applauded TJ Edwards' ability to play the way he's played this year. He says TJ Edwards cannot cover tight ends, and in today's NFL, with all the great tight ends, he will not be back. How do you respond to that? Now, I will say this. I've said from day one, if there's one liability in all of TJ Edwards' game, and this is carried over from his college days because I watched him closely for 4 years in Wisconsin, he's always struggled covering the tight end. Anything else about his game, I love about his game. But, Barry, your thoughts on what Cilio says?
I think he will be back just because he's a tough, hard-nosed guy that can play the run in the middle of that defense. I think they have enough of the movement deep linebacker / smaller cover guys. They'll have enough. You know, they have the kid Nakobe Dean that'll take Kazir White. He'll be a guy that if they have nickel situation like they had, or a dime situation like they had in the 3rd and 30, they'll leave in Nakobe Dean, or they'll leave in a Kazir White. But as for everything else, I think he's magical at going out there, stopping the run, influencing blocks. Just playing hard-nosed football. Sometimes, the same thing with Trot. Remember Trot? Trot couldn't cover. He couldn't cover you with a blanket. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. But he'll come up there and lay a hit, set tempo. He'll get, tackles for loss. That's his job. That's what he's great at.
All right, let's
can't get over 3rd and 30. I still cannot get that.
I can't either. That's the one that is just a killer. I mean, the guy and T.Y. Hilton was on the street a week ago, prior to the catch. So it's just inexcusable.
He gets one target the whole game and made it. Now, granted, he made a phenomenal catch.
He did, and it was a great throw.
Yep, that's the farthest. That's the longest throw of Dak Prescott's career.
Is that right?
60 yards in the air.
Oh my God. All right, let's come back and let's dig in a little bit more on the offense. A couple things to look at. Obviously the big news is Lane Johnson and Avonte Maddox and what that looks like here going forward.
That's you guys talk too much, man. It's 12:40,
man.
we had off yesterday, man. We were all pent up. We had a lot to get out. We're not done.
I think you both forget that I'm the quiet one in this group.
Sure you are.
Not today.
Yes. All right. So let's come back and we'll dig into the offense and then we'll dig into the defense and we'll go, man, a lot happening in the NFL too, with JJ Watt and Tua. And we'll take a look at the NFC and AFC playoff races and just kind of where things are. Teams are making runs, guys, and teams are collapsing, right in front of our eyes in the NFL. So teams you've written off are still alive and teams you thought were locks are going the wrong way. So we'll dig into all that kind of stuff when we come back. So don't go anywhere. Barrett Brooks, Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I want to tell you right now about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because finding that right person to trust with your investments, with your hard-earned money, can be a really tricky proposition. That's for sure. I found the right person, and it's Jim Murray, and you will be pleased with him as well. And I can tell you, look, whether it's 401k review, insurance review, if you're trying to set up a small business, these are all things Jim can help you with. But even if you're not sure, he can be that resource for you, things you can bounce off of him and trial and error and whatnot. I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollover with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751, or you can email him as well, Murray, MURRAY.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.
Post-game show with Seth Joyner.
I knew that they had a running game.
Derek Gunn.
He has put in the effort.
Devin Caney.
Had we not won the Super Bowl, what would we be saying?
And Mike Missinelli.
Well, you know who Philly is.
Post-game, now streaming on the 6ABC family of apps.